Chips.
Fork.
Juliet.
Deck.
Jam.
Jam. Oh, jam.
Oh, Chris, you can't be serious. Peanut butter and nothing, because that is disgusting.
I'm sure it hasn't escaped your attention that some things just belong together.
It's plain wrong to have one without the other. Like, come on, PB&J.
There are things that don't make sense when they're on their own.
But it's not just objects, and I think it's fair to say, and we'd hope you agree, that humans just belong together too.
But why do we belong together? That's the big question.
Have a look at how being alone for too long can really affect you in this experiment from the Campaign to End Loneliness.
How would you cope in this situation?
So they've taken my phone off me and my tablet and my smartwatch.
It's still early doors, but so far it's been remarkably quiet.
It's been a bit lonely, but it's not been unbearable. Being used to living with lots of people as well, it's a big difference.
Usually when I wake up, I check like the news apps on my phone to see what's going on in the world, that sort of thing. I think it's not so much about the technology, I've realised, but it's about the feeling of having a connection. I can hear the people in the neighbouring flats heading out in the hallway, off to do something a bit more exciting, imagine. I'm quite jealous of that. I'm starting to find it quite difficult, to be honest. I can't sleep at all. It's almost like I'm not mentally prepared for bed because there's not been a beginning, middle and end. It's just been a constant nothingness. Morning. So on the bright side, today's the last day. Just counting down the hours now. And I've just kind of gone into robot mode. If you start overthinking things, you start thinking about how lonely you are. I'm supposed to do these video diaries, but I don't know what to say. Call your bum, I suppose.
That was a pretty brutal experiment.
But the sad truth is, that sort of existence is a reality for many.
Did you know that 500,000 people in the UK go at least 5 or 6 days a week without seeing or speaking to anyone at all?
45% of adults in England occasionally, sometimes, or often feel lonely. This equates to 20 million people.
And nearly 4 million say that television is their main company.
The statistics are frightening and something needs to change.
The isolation experiment certainly changed Joe.
Are you Joe?
I am, yes, nice to meet you.
Hello, Joe.
How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Come in.
Thank you.
How did you survive?
It's a good question. It was certainly trying, certainly very trying at times, I think. A real sense of being left out and being alone and not being part of it and being very cut off.
It's not something you think about, is it, until it actually happens to you. And then suddenly you become aware of it and realise the significance of what goes on in the world and how many people are lonely. I was bereaved
Right.
2.5 years ago.
Oh, right.
Not having someone to talk to hug, to share things with. The more elderly people particularly, it's part of life. I can promise you that it can be devastating.
How do you think we can combat it?
The answer to that, probably the key would be to be aware of people. To talk to someone in that situation who is lonely, you have to, it really requires a little effort, doesn't it? I think that's the key.
Deep down, we all have a sense that loneliness is something that we need to play our part in reducing.
In the Bible, Jesus tells the story of a man who was robbed, beaten up, and left for dead at the side of a road.
He was injured and lonely and in desperate need of help.
A couple of religious leaders who should have helped just walked by on the other side, even though the road was narrow, which made that task virtually impossible.
They stepped over him or climbed around him. Why? Because in Jewish thinking at that time, touching certain people or getting involved with the sick, dead or dying would make them unclean.
Those who should have known better didn't help the man in distress.
Finally, someone does the right thing.
The next man to come along is the unlikely hero of the story. It's a Samaritan who many Jews despised because they weren't like them.
But instead of walking past the man, he helps him, tends to his wounds, and takes him to a local inn and even pays for his medical care.
At the end of the story, Jesus tells the group of religious leaders to copy the Good Samaritan and go and do likewise. And the same applies to us.
Many problems in our world are complex and the solutions to them are difficult.
But the issues of loneliness and isolation are in many ways solvable challenges.
So, what could you do to play your part?
What would it look like if we picked up the phone or messaged someone or crossed the classroom or went to the other side of the field to talk to the lonely or the isolated?
What would our world feel like if people picked up the phone and messaged someone that hadn't seen or even spoken to someone in days?
I think it would be a better world.